MRB. I want to show you my life so you can teach other people. First, let's start with where I come from. I come from the red bone marrow, which is a flexible tissue inside of the bone. Also, it's not just me that gets created in the red bone marrow. Other blood cells are produced too. Okay, let's move on. I would like to tell you about what makes up the blood in human bodies. There are 4 components. First of all, I would like to introduce to you something called red blood cells, otherwise known as me. We are tiny dish-shaped cells. We have hemoglobins inside of us. Hemoglobins is a component that has iron, which helps explain why sometimes when you taste your blood, you can also taste some iron. The sad thing is, every one of the red blood cells only survive for 3 months. That also includes me. After being destroyed, we are recycled by the liver and the spleen. When red blood cells get destroyed, hemoglobins will be stored in the liver and will be used to make new blood cells in the bone marrow. Another important job we have is transporting oxygen and carbon dioxide. Guess which component I'll talk to you about next? White blood cells. They help protect our body from getting sick and helps you with healing. The third component are called platelets. They are small colorless liquids. Also, platelets helps to stop blood from bursting out of your bodies by forming a blood clot. Plasma is the 4th major component of blood. It's a yellowy, sticky liquid. 3 blood vessels I want to talk to you about are arteries, capillaries, and veins. Arteries are thick-walled muscular vessels. They have 3 layers with epithelial cells closest to the center of the vessel, smooth muscle in between, and the connective tissues as the outermost layer. Also, their job is to bring the blood cells away from the heart to the rest of the bodies. The capillaries have only one thin wall called endothelial cells. Capillaries are where red blood cells start the process of diffusion, which I'll talk about later. For the 3rd blood cell that I want to talk about is the vein. Veins are similar to arteries, except they have smaller walls than they carry blood to the heart instead of away from the heart.
As I said before, I'm going to talk about the process of diffusion. Diffusion is a process where exchanges of oxygen and carbon dioxide move from high to low concentration between the capillaries and cells. Take note, molecules only move from high concentration to low concentration. Diffusion is continuous because when red blood cells go through the capillaries, they drop off oxygen and the carbon dioxide attract to us, the red blood cells. So, oxygen has to move from the capillaries to the cells, and carbon dioxide has to move through the thin walls of capillaries to get inside. Also, diffusion happens anywhere there are capillaries. For the lungs, it happens in the alveolar sacs because they have capillaries surrounding the sacs. Let me think of what's next about the lives of red blood cells. Oh yes, how the blood flows through our bodies. There are 3 parts of the circulatory system: the pulmonary, coronary, and systemic. I'll start with the pulmonary circulation. It starts with the right ventricle of the heart pumping blood to the lungs. In the capillaries of the lungs, we carry oxygen and release carbon dioxide. Then the oxygen-rich blood leads back to the heart, which is the coronary system, but I will talk about that later. Don't be sad because I'll talk about the systemic circulation now. When the blood gets to the left ventricle, it goes to the arteries and into the capillaries. In the capillaries here, blood gives oxygen, nutrients, and water to the cells of the body. Meanwhile, waste like carbon dioxide is carried away. Now for the awaited organ in the circulatory system, the heart. also known as the coronary system. The heart has a thick barrier that completely separates the left chambers and right chambers, and it's called the septum. Another role of the septum is to prevent the deoxygenated and oxygenated blood from mixing. If you've been wondering where red blood cells go because they still don't have oxygen in them, I can answer that for you. We go inside the veins called superior vena cava and inferior vena cava depending where the red bone marrow is located. The same goes for the other red blood cells that are repeating their circulation. So after going through the superior vena cava and inferior vena cava, the oxygen-poor blood flows to the right atrium. Another feature in the right atrium is the pacemaker, which gives signals to make the heart muscles contract. 4 valves in the heart. One is connecting the right atrium to the right ventricle. The next one is between the right ventricle and the pulmonary vein. The third valve is located at the left atrium and the left ventricle. The final valve is located between the left ventricle and the aorta on the next part of the heart, the right ventricle, which leads to the pulmonary vein. Wait, I have a fun fact. The pulmonary vein and the pulmonary artery are the only blood vessels that do the opposite of what they're supposed to do. So the pulmonary vein is connected to the lungs where the oxygen-poor blood becomes oxygen-rich because of the diffusion in the alveolar sacs. Then the oxygen-rich blood is directed back to the heart by the pulmonary artery. From the pulmonary artery, it goes to the left atrium and to the left ventricle. After going to the left ventricle, the oxygen-rich blood goes to the aorta, which sends the blood to the rest of the body. Phew! I'm finally done! Red blood cells are truly busy and helpful in the circulatory systems of your bodies.